Hello YouTubers. Working on getting this car key out of my front axle on my 2004 Dodge Ram 2500. Welcome to another edition of Virginia Handyman. Welcome back. Today I got a 2004 Dodge Ram 2500. Need to replace the U-joints in the front axle and the front wheel bearings. Wheel bearing on this thing has been kind of showing some slack the last couple of years, and I noticed in four-wheel drive when I turn the steering wheel it give me a little buck, so that tells me one of my U-joints is bad. I replaced the other side last night, did some video on it. If I have to and something messes up, I will use some of that video in this one. But primarily, hopefully we're going to shoot this video straight up. I did buy a U-joint press from Harbor Freight, ball joint U-joint press, but the U-joints in this thing is so big, it's completely impossible to use as far as pressing the U-joints out. So we have to go old school on that and beat them out and beat them in, and then take the press, tighten them up, get the clips on it. We'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. I have seen video on this on other YouTubers, but felt like I could do something a little better, maybe give you some better angles, and put a couple of things together. Number one, since I am pulling the axle, I'm going to break the axle nut loose here, break all the lugs loose before I get the tire up off the ground. That axle nut is supposed to be 1 inch and 11/16. I do not have that in my kit. I've got 1 inch and 5/8 and 1 inch and 3/4. So we're using 1 inch and 3/4 and about a 4-foot bar to help break that loose. So what we're going to do, break all of that loose, break my lugs loose before I get the tires up in the air. I did do one tire in the air yesterday, but I'll show you when you're pressing the hub out using the socket and turning the steering wheel. I was kind of uncomfortable. I was kind of fearful that it might scoot around on the jack stand. So being as I got to grease everything when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and jack the whole front end up, put jack stands under both sides today. And my shop is full of crap. I needed enough room to pull this long axle, so I'm going to have to climb in from the passenger side to turn the steering wheel. But that's not a big deal. Let's get to it, and I'll get back with you here in just a little bit. Well, like I say, I've already pulled the car key on this nut. Get my camera out the way. Don't want to mess up the camera. You about got to stand on this jewel. Alright, that's got that broke loose. We'll make sure the lug nuts break before we get the tire off the ground. Alright, she's off the ground. Let's get started. Alright, next is removal of the brake caliper. Yesterday I took the whole frame off. This thing is unbearably heavy and hard to manage. I cross-threaded one of the bolts when I put it back. Today I'm taking just the wheel caliper off, setting it off, taking the frame, setting it off to the side so that I don't have that weight to deal with. Also, I'm going to unlock my steering. Hopefully I can twist it a little bit without having to start the truck up right now. Let's see if it lets us, yeah, see we can work it back and forth a little bit. All right. So what I'm going to do is take the wheel caliper off, lay it right up here on this frame, kind of right across the frame. That'll sit there the whole time we're doing our work. That is a 14mm socket. The compressor will be kicking in quite often. I am using and you can get these at Harbor Freight. I hadn't tried the Harbor Freight brand. Bought a set of snap-on ball flex sockets years ago, probably back in the 80s, early 90s. These are really handy to have in a workshop. Best tool I've ever bought. 14mm to take the caliper off. And I was wearing a GoPro yesterday, but it made it very awkward. I'm throwing all my hardware over in my hubcap. Perfect place for it. When you're removing a caliper, take and kind of work your way into the edge here. And you only remove one caliper at a time when you're removing one. Because what happens is you're going to you're going to push your brake fluid back up into your reservoir. And when you're doing brake job, always after you do the one side, pump that caliper, pump that brake up before you go to the other side. Otherwise you're going to blow all your brake fluid back up your reservoir. Trying to make sure I got plenty of room. Yesterday when I did this, I didn't have enough room. Now the wheel bearing that I got is a wheel bearing hub, and everything comes with the anti-lock brake sensor. So right now what I'm doing is just working some of this this anti-lock brake sensor loose from the brake line. I'm going to have to do it eventually. And not only that, it gives my brake line a little bit more room to play. You got little rubber grommet type things in here that this thing slides in. And then up here on the frame you got one little clip. And mine came with a new clip. Yesterday I was able to reuse the old clip. And then let me get the other camera around here so you can see it. Make sure you can see this. If you see here, this is your anti-lock brake line, and it's tie wrapped right up here in the frame. So I'm going to take my screwdriver. Pop that tie wrap loose. Alright, if you look at this plug here, it's got a little red tab on it right here. You slide that up. You reach in that hole and squeeze. And when you do that, that plug will come right out. So there you go. Anti-lock brake line is loose. Position this camera back around over here. Now, caliper should be loose. It's just a matter of lifting him right out of there and trying to get a little bit more play in this cylinder. I don't want to have to fight with it when I go to put it back on the rotor. It's a whole lot easier to fight with it now than to fight with it later. If you fight with it later, you're going to have to C-clamp it. See, I got that caliper turned, and she's just sitting right across that stabilizer arm. Next thing's the frame here. That is an 18, and I will use my deep socket on that to get it broke loose. Well, this ain't gonna be no fun. I gotta lift. All right. Ah. Trying to see if that pipe will fit in there. I had to put the pipe on them yesterday. Break those loose. Yep. All right. Anytime you can use a piece of pipe, it's a whole lot easier on your back. So here we go. There's one of them broke loose. Keep your back straight. Use your legs if you do it that way. Kind of hold that up there. Now if you're real careful, you can take it off and leave your brake shoes right in it, just like that. After that, rotor comes right off. Normally. Little squeak on that one. And set that back out your way. Alright. Next deal. There is 4 bolts back in here that hold this whole hub in. We're going to put a little PB blaster around all of them. And PB blaster around our hub a little bit. Alright. And there is a Black Widow walking around here. Let me get rid of that first. Alright. Now the reason I said since I'm pulling the axle, I'm leaving the nut on the hub, is when I push this hub out, which I'll show you the little trick here in just a few minutes, you'll break that axle loose from its snap ring in the housing. So let's get these broke loose. I also have to use the piece of pipe on these. So round 2. Ah, she did break loose. Alright. So that's those 2. I'm gonna go ahead and run them back. You're gonna run them back to where they're just flush with the inside of the hub. I don't know if you can see that on this camera. Let me move that camera around. Alright, these are the 4 bolts that you're going to be taking out. 4 of them. So we're going to back these till these nuts, these bolts are flush with the front of the hub there. Let me back them out. Alright, you see it just, alright, I run a little too much. So that should be about right. Do the bottom one the same way. Alright, so now we're going to turn this hub, get the other side. Alright, I'm going to leave it running. Hopefully you can hear me on my mic. We're going to break these bolts loose, do the same thing. Alright, now what we're going to do, we're going to take the 18mm socket. These bolts have a flange on their heads. We're going to take that, put it back up on the bolt, and kind of wedge it in the frame here. Now, let me get this camera, I'll show you what I'm doing. You'll see it better from the other side too. Alright, you see how I got that wedged in the frame? I am going to go in here and turn the steering wheel, and you'll shove that hub out. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Yep. And sometimes you got to turn this U-joint where you got that little slot lined up. And you kind of wedge that right up in there. And I'm going to tighten it back up. And then I'm going to go turn my steering wheel. Slip. That's alright, I got enough here. So let me shut him down. Alright, so what we were looking for is to open the groove up. And that's what using that did, was open the groove up where you can work this thing the rest of the way out. Now you can go ahead and take your bolts the rest of the way out. Alright, so all 4 bolts are out. Let's get this thing on out of here. Now, I'm wondering if I work this out far enough to get that U-joint loose, that axle loose. There she went. Alright, we're going to take a little break. Since we got it this far, dry off a little bit, and get a shot of water, and then we'll show you how to get this U-joint pulled apart. Welcome back, everybody. Alright, I've soaked this down with some PB Blaster. We're getting ready to pull the U-joint out of this. Like I say, I have this U-joint kit that I got from Harbor Freight, but it does not fit this U-joint. The U-joint is entirely too big to fit, but I do use it to help clamp it together when I'm trying to put the rings back in it. It has little snap rings like these right here that goes right up inside here. So first we're going to take a little screwdriver, and pretty much all you got to do is work around in here. You'll get your little grit out, and sometimes they're snapped in from one side, which kicks them all the way around. So yeah, this one's snapped in from the other side. Yep, that one's where she needs to be. So just take a little hammer, screwdriver, tap it. Once you tap that ring out, you take your screwdriver, run it through the frame there, and kind of just twist it, and pop it If it don't, then tap it again. If you tap it enough times, it'll come off. It'll kind of spring off of there. If you need to save these, be careful doing this because they will take off across the room on you. So we're going to roll him again. There's that one. You get all 4 of these out. Then we'll commence to beating and banging a little bit. Hopefully this one will break loose a little better than the other one did. I did find that 3 pieces of 4x4 works about perfect for these U-joints. I think I still got one on that one. There she went. All right. All right, we got all the clips out. Now let's commence to beating and banging. Find you a socket that'll fit over this thing. Fit over is bigger than the cap of the U-joint. Like I say, mine works out about perfect. Set your U-joint right up on there. Then I take this little ball peen, go dead center on the top. And yesterday I was beating at this on the other one and I couldn't get anything to go. I had to go get a bigger hammer. She's moving. You want to make sure that that socket stays up under there because you don't want to beat on this thing and spread these arms. Ah, yeah. We're doing something now. She's out. Now I know I am beating the socket through, beating the cap through. I've got to turn around and beat the cap right back through, but once it breaks, it'll come on off. So there's one cap. Let's turn around, beat that back through there. Now I know that I am hitting on hardened steel to hardened steel. It is dangerous, but gives me a good handle. I don't think my socket was lined up. That's why she was hitting so solid. All right, that one's out. So this one ought to come right on out. There she is. Yep, that one had quite a bit of rust in him. Probably binding me up. Alright, so we got the old one out. Wipe the hands down a little bit. I would glove up, but to be honest with you, I don't feel like going back and get my gloves out of the shop. Alright. It's a Moog 464 U-joint. Comes with your little clips. And there's a grease fitting in there. I point my grease fitting towards my front knuckle. Grease fitting. I point it this way. Because I feel like that will get me to where I can get it in there better. So yesterday, the one that I did yesterday, the caps drove in incredibly easy. You got to get your U-joint in there first, then slide your cap in. And yesterday It was just a light tap. Sent that cap right up in there for me. That's about right. So that one's right. Let's get this one on. And I'll show you what I'm talking about using I'm going to tap this one through, get my ring, slide my ring on it. Just slide that ring up on there, get him started. Then it's just a simple tap. We'll send it right on in. You might want to take a screwdriver, make sure she's shoved all the way in. Yep. Alright, so being as I've got that ring in, I can tap this side on in now and tighten it up. But my problem is I'm not able to get it tight enough to get the ring back on there beating on it. I don't want to beat on it and collapse these jaws in. It makes your U-joint tight. So I do use this tool as a big C-clamp, basically. Alright, I think I can get my ring on. There she goes. Alright, release this. Now, that U-joint is tight as all get out. And I'm going to show you how to loosen that here in a few minutes. We're going to get the other side in, and I'll show you how to loosen that up. Now I'm trying to lift that U-joint a little bit to hold in that cup. That one looks like I might be able to get the clip in him. Yep, she's in. Alright, now see how tight that U-joint is? Now if you'll take and strike here, 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 and here this way and kind of open them up. Actually, you can strike the sides down. See how quick that loosened up? Now what you're doing, and then set this side over, strike this side down. You put the weight on that side. That's a whole lot better. Now, let's put our grease fitting in. Then we'll start assembly. Alright, we've got our U-joint put in. We've got our Wheel bearing ready to go. Speaking of wheel bearing, ordered the wheel bearings from 1AAuto.com. Was the cheapest I found them. They have a limited lifetime warranty. They come with the ABS sensor, with all the little rubber grommets and the new clip and everything. So simple enough. You put this thing in. One thing. This goes this way. I tried putting it on like this yesterday. Didn't work. So I had to take that one apart. That's part of the reason I'm not using that video. So make sure you get your ABS sensor sent through here. Your wiring sent through the hub hole. It will go on just like that. So we got that wheel bearing ready to go. Slide the axle in. All right, axle's in. Your wheel bearing and your backing plate. Let's get this ABS sensor wire out of our way. Throw that over there. One thing I forgot to do, and should have, is take a wire brush and go inside that hub and wire brush everything down. Now, one thing I am doing before I put any bolts back, I'm PB blastering all of these and letting them set for a few minutes. All right, I am going to go start the motor, unlock the steering so I can get a better angle on all of this. Sure, there's a torque setting for these. Well, I'm just going to tighten the crap out of them. And I'm going to cross tighten them, which means I'm going to have to turn this thing both ways twice. Turn her this way. We'll shut her down. All right, next in the assembly is the rotor. We ain't got about a couple more minutes left here, folks. Let's get the frame back on it. All right, let's get the wheel caliper on. All right, let's see if she has to go in bottom first then. And that's what it was. I had to put the bottom in first. All right. bottom kind of slides into a little slot. All right, pretty much feed your ABS line along. Get it worked up, plugged up. Put your wheel on, grease everything, and put your lock nut on your axle. I'm going to put this nut on here. Go ahead and run it up with the impact. But once I get it back on the ground, I won't show you that. I will crank the crap out of it. It's supposed to be somewhere around 235 foot-pounds. I have no torque wrench to reach that footage. So we're using the impact wrench, and we're going to pull it up, like I say, tight now. Then when I get it on the ground, I'll tighten it up as tight as I can with that big piece of pipe. Well, there you have it, folks. Like I say, all I got to do is put the tire back. It is a kind of tedious job. It is time consuming, especially trying to do a video and do it. But it can be done fairly quickly. I think I could do it in less than 2 hours on each side if I wasn't trying to do a video and show things and move cameras and everything else. But I do that for y'all's benefit, and I hope that you enjoy this, like it, subscribe, and have a good day. Thanks everybody for watching. Pray for those in Vegas and those affected by the hurricane.